All right, welcome to your world history test. This is the Renaissance and Protestant Reformation test. So, multiple choice. Choose the answer that best completes the statement or answers the questions. We've got 40 questions. Number 1, which of these events occurred first? We have A, the Crusades, B, the Golden Age of Greece, C, the fall of the Roman Empire, and we have D, the Renaissance. Number 2, which period in European history is most closely associated with these statements? So associated means goes with these statements. So is it the first one, classical Greco-Roman ideas were revived by man like Leonardo da Vinci, wealthy patrons supported the arts and education, humanism spread through Western Europe. So which one goes with these? Is it A, Protestant Reformation? Is it B, Renaissance, C, Middle Ages, or D, the Industrial Revolution? Okay, so next one. Which of the following completes the title of this outline? So what would the title be for this outline? So the first part is the Black Death killed 25 million Europeans. Then we have the 100 Years' War introduced the longbow and cannon. And then next, many noble lords sold off lands to pay for the crusade. So we're looking for what the title would be for those things. Is it A, reasons for the decline of feudalism? B, causes of the fall of the Roman Empire? Would it be C, the beginning of the Protestant Reformation? Or D, the impact of the printing press in Europe? And let's go to number 4. Trade increased after the Crusades because Europeans were A, trying to get better clothes, B, needed to raise taxes from trade, C, interested in Asian luxury goods from the Silk Road trade routes, or D, trading more European products to pay off their war debts. Okay, turn the page. And remember, at any time, you can pause this to answer your questions, which you should be doing. You can listen to me read the question. So go ahead, make sure you're using those accommodations. Now, So 5, a major reason that the Renaissance began in Italy was that A, Italian city-states had grown wealthy from trade and could fund artists. Was it B, Italian kings were given more power than peasants? Was it C, Italy had more natural resources and technology? Or was it D, many Muslim scholars had migrated to this area? All right, next one. So we have a map here. Make sure you look at the map for the next question. So we're going to look at number 6, but you make sure that you see the little key here so you understand a straight arrow is a major trade route. Looks like it's like a dotted arrow is a route controlled by the Hasidic League. And then the one with the big slash of the lines, the bigger ones, are the routes controlled by the Italian city-states. So that's going to be important. So, which of the following most accurately describes this map? Was it A, the growth of democratic governments in Africa? Was it B, feudal lords were more powerful in Europe? C, learning and cultural diffusion declined in Asia? Or D, the growth of towns and cities in Europe? So take a good look at the map, and then maybe listen to me read the question again. Okay, next one. Okay, 7. Okay, the Medici of Florence were the most powerful family of the Renaissance. They gained power and wealth through A, successful marriages to nobility, B, the banking industry, C, the revolution, or D, birthright. Number 8, what was a characteristic of the Renaissance in Europe? Is it A, increased power of the Catholic Church, B, the study of classic literature from Asia, C, emphasizing the importance of human potential and achievements, or D, the importance of educating women to become leaders. Number 9, humanists during the Renaissance focused on classicism, so they studied A, the Bible and the message of the Catholic Church, B, trade patterns between the Islamic and Byzantine empires, C, the cultural achievements of the Greek and Romans, or D, the role of the middle class, especially bankers and merchants. 10, which factor best characterizes the art of both Greek and the Renaissance? Is it A, the influence of the West African tradition, B, showing of Asian nature paintings, C, emphasis on realism and the human form, or D, focus on biblical themes? Number 11, remember, after I read these, you should pause and think about it, and then unpause it to go to the next one. But I'm reading it fast, but you should be pausing as you go. So, using perspective in a painting allows an artist to create A, more realistic facial expressions, B, religious paintings that teach lessons to the illiterate, C, paintings that draw upon Chinese art, or D, the illusion of depth. 12. Leonardo da Vinci is considered the ultimate example of a Renaissance man because A, he supported women's rights, B, he searched for knowledge, his search for knowledge caused him to create new languages, C, he was very vocal in his criticism of the Catholic Church, or D, he was a great painter, sculptor, architect, science, and inventor. Okay, let's go to 13. We have this picture. Okay, who created this sculpture? Is it A, Donatello, B, Leonardo da Vinci, C, Michelangelo, or D, Raphael? 14. Here's a sculpture. So the Renaissance sculpture shown below was the first to be viewed from all sides since the Roman era. Who sculpted it? Is it A, Leonardo da Vinci, B, Raphael, C, Donatello, or D, Michelangelo? Okay, here we go. We have another picture. The image below shows the work of A, Leonardo da Vinci, B, Niccolo Machiavelli, C, Martin Luther, or D, Michelangelo. Next, here we go, we got a picture. The section of the painting shown is from the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Which artist created this masterpiece? Is it A, Donatello, B, Lorenzo Medici, C, Michelangelo, sorry, that was in the way, and then D, Leonardo da Vinci? 17. Okay, humanism during the Italian Renaissance was focused on A, the affairs of the Catholic Church, B, self-sufficient manorial peasants, C, the importance of the individual, or D, the role of kings. 18. During the Renaissance, people gained social status by A, wealth they inherit from family, B, acts of bravery in battle, C, their birthright, or D, their abilities, wealth they earn, and accomplishments. 19. When the Brunelleschi designed the cathedral for the city of Florence, he was inspired by, is it A, the advanced mosque designs of the Islamic Empire, B, the Gothic-style churches of medieval Europe, C, the stunningly beautiful ISS trailers of Central Gwinnett High School, or D, the classic architecture of Rome? 20. In his book, The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli advises that a wise ruler is one who, A, keeps taxes and food prices low, B, does anything that is necessary to stay in power, C, allows advisors to speak their minds, or D, encourages education and the arts. Okay. Let's go to 21. Erasmus's book, In Praise of Folly, A, describes stories of love and human emotion. B, called for reforms in the Catholic Church. C, encouraged readers to find new trade routes to Asia. Or D, was an attempt to convert people to Judaism. 22. Dante's The Divine Comedy is an important piece of humanist literature because it, A, is written in the vernacular and is about real people. B, outlines the importance of humanity's time and accomplishments while alive. C, calls for reforming the corrupt Protestant church. Or D, comments on his struggles as a Christian. 23. The Renaissance made writing about secular topics more common. Secular means that A, the topic is not religious. B, the topic is religious. C, the writer is a poet. D, the subject is about art. 24. One way in which the Roman Empire and the Italian Renaissance are similar is that they both included periods of A, a decline in trade. B, government led by queens. C, numerous cultural achievements. Or D, an increase in religious unity. 25. What was one cause of the Protestant Reformation? Is it A, revolt by the Moors in Spain? B, passage of the Act of Supremacy in England? C, call for the Council of Trent by Pope Paul III? Or was it D, corruption among officials of the Catholic Church? And 26. Before the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Church in Western Europe was criticized for A, sponsoring explorations to the Middle East. B, allowing the Bible to be printed in many different languages. C, being corrupt and priests not following church rules. Or D, spending too much money on the education of Catholic priests and monks. All right, let's flip the page. 27. Martin Luther was disgusted with the Roman Catholic Church because he, A, disagreed with the sale of indulgences. B, blamed the church for not curing people who had the Black Death plague. C, believed that kings should have more power to appoint clergy. Or D, thought the church lacked structure. 28. The sellers of indulgences are selling false salvation. Only through God's mercy can people be saved. This quotation above most likely came from which of the following sources? Martin Luther's 95 Theses. B, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. C, Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince. Or D, Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. 29. The belief of the Catholic Church and the Protestant churches are both based on the A, leadership of the Pope. B, conception of reincarnation. C, teaching of Muhammad. Or D, ideas of Christianity, Jesus and the Bible mainly. 30. One way Martin Luther, John Calvin, and Henry VIII were similar is that they all were A, Latin American revolutionary leaders. B, European kings. C, Renaissance painters. D, Reformation leaders. 31. One similarity between Martin Luther and Henry VIII is that A, they were writers who used the vernacular to express humanist ideas. B, they protested against the idea of the Enlightenment. C, they were important Renaissance artists, or D, they challenged the teachings of the Catholic Church. Okay, let's go to 32. Martin Luther's belief that salvation could only be achieved through faith in God was called A, predestination, C, Protestantism, C, salvation of good works, or D, justification by faith. 33. John Calvin's belief that God has already determined who was going to heaven is known as A, Calvinism, B, justification by faith, C, predestination, and D, realism. 34. Why did Henry VIII break away from the Catholic Church? A, he wanted to continue to sell indulgences. B, he believed in predestination. C, the Pope refused to allow him to divorce his wife. And D, the Pope excommunicated him because of the 95 Theses. 35. As a result of Henry VIII's break with the Catholic Church, he formed the Protestant faith called A, Lutheranism, B, Calvinism, C, Anglicanism, that's the Church of England, or D, Henryism. And 36, what was the purpose of the Council of Trent? Is it A, convict Martin Luther of heresy for his beliefs, B, to make reforms and emphasize core Catholic beliefs, C, excommunicate John Calvin for challenging the authority of the Pope, and B, form the Holy Roman Empire? 37. Which of the following was not a result of the Counter-Reformation? So is it A, the Catholic Church sent Jesuit missionaries through the world, B, priests no longer sold indulgences, C, new schools were created to educate priests, or D, church services were no longer spoken only in Latin? Okay, last couple questions. We have 38. Which of the following could be considered an effect of the Protestant Reformation? Is it A, the end of religious wars, B, the beginning of religious unity in Europe, C, decline in the power of the Roman Catholic Church, or D, decreased power of European kings? Okay, 39. Which advancement in technology revolutionized the way ideas were spread in Western Europe in the 15th century? Is it A, the telegraph, B, the printing press, C, the telescope, or D, the astrolabe? 40. What role did the Renaissance play in the development of the Protestant Reformation? Is it A, it led to the development of a larger and more powerful Catholic Church? B, it encouraged people in the church to be more spiritual. C, it did not play a role in religion at all. Or D, new ideas in art, literature, and science led people to question other aspects of life. Okay, so that concludes the test. If you want anything reread, just rewind. If you have extra questions, ask the teacher in the room with you if you need clarification of any sort. Good luck.